Well, so apparently the patch is delayed because of some giant snowstorm that took down a server. Knowing my luck, now that I'm recording this video, it's probably going to go up in a second, but I figured to tide us over, guys, since we are waiting, I do a little bit of a video on something quite cool that I haven't covered in-game yet, and is something pretty fun to look at right before this Krytan-based release comes out, since we have the extra time. So you remember a short while ago, we had the current events start, and we had series of them in Krytan involving posted messages from the White Mantle propaganda that you could read about. They referenced stuff like, how dare can the Shining Blade hire some mercenary thug like Kanak. They would spout all this racist stuff about the centaurs and the Char and try to undermine the throne. Talk about how can we trust people to determine our politics when they are mesmers and mind shapers. It was really fun. Well, ArenaNet did add another 10 of those to the game. It's not something I really talked about online, and the 10 indeed that they added had some really cool dialogue. So I ran around grabbing it on my Thief a little while ago, and I thought I'd show you guys just what that looks like. I'm going to read the dialogue. That's basically all this video is, to tide us over, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the things that appear featured in these notes, considering a big attack's about to strike Krytan, might just have relevance in the patch. So, the start of the achievement requires us to find 5 new messages in each of the maps. Actually, there's 2 in Queensdale, at various locations that we have come to know are associated with the bandits. Message number 1 is right here from the Shire of Beetleton, and it reads as such. It says, "People of Krytan, it is I, your faithful servant, Lord Minister Caudecus Beetlestone. I know the Queen has said terrible, nasty things about me, and I must assure you, I am here to return Krytan to its former glory." It's a pretty cool message. At this point, you could tear the poster down or choose to read on, and the fact we can read on actually means we get a lot more information than the old posters gave. And here's something really crazy happens. Caudecus says this. He says, "It is true. I am the supreme leader of the White Mantle." He reveals his face to everybody. The fact that he's the supreme leader of the White Mantle, something like this going public with this is massive. And really it just happened in this small message here in current events. But then he goes on to say, "What is not true are the lies and slander the royal family and their lackeys have spread about our noble organization. I intend to set the record straight. Lord Caudecus Beetlestone." So this is very, very, very cool. You get to see, basically, through these messages, what Caudecus thinks of the whole situation. And some of the propaganda and things he mentions are kind of reasonable attitudes to have. And they reference back Guild Wars 1 events in some very fun ways. I love the writing here, and should have talked about this on the channel a bit earlier. Moving on to the next message, where things get even better. Let's read on. It says, "Generations ago, it was the White Mantle who protected Krytan from the Char." And that's true, it was the White Mantle. It was Saul D'Alessio and his closest advisors that infiltrated the Char front lines and took it all out with the help of the Unseen Ones. This was right before Saul went missing, and then they lied to everyone. He says that now that your queen wishes to sell you out to them. Is that the sort of leadership you want? Someone whose weak policies on the Char have opened our streets to their kind? Think of your families. I love this. I've always loved the human versus Char stuff. And Caudecus goes on to say something here that I think is very, very poignant. He says, "Join me. Join the White Mantle, and together we will close our borders to those beasts and all other non-humans. We will make Krytan strong. We will make humanity strong. We shall return to the glory days when man, not beast, not floppy-eared pseudo-intellectuals or plant beasts or brainless giants ruled Tyria." Lord Caudecus Beetlestone. So obviously he's talking about the other playable races there. I love this because humans were once upon a time very prominent. That idea with the brainless giants comment, by the way, it's funny because they say that regions to the north of Krytan once hosted giants that assaulted Krytans. That was from an outpost description way back in the first game. Has never been paid off on. And this dialogue, though obviously not referencing it, does remind me of it. We're going on. I thought that message, Caudecus was going to say something he didn't in the end. We'll get to it in a second. From Gendaran Fields at the Ascalon settlement, we hear this. So he's gonna really drive in on the Char thing here, because these are the people from Ascalon. He says, "My brothers and sisters from Ascalon, you may know my history. I fought with you against the Char. I bled with you. I wept with you as the once great country was consumed by the ravenous beasts. And this is not the first time the White Mantle aided Ascalon in their fight with the Char. And that's true. That's so true. And remember, this is what I love about this dialogue, is how it reminds all of us as players that it wasn't that long ago the treaty between humans and Char started out. And that's very important to me. By reading on, we get an even cooler lore bomb from Guild Wars 1. It says here, generations ago, Zane the Merciful brought food and clothing for your countrymen. What did the Shining Blade send? Assassins who your king had hanged from Ascalon City. Join me, and the White Mantle will reclaim your home from the Char, and we shall form a grand human empire, the likes of which has never been seen before. So this Zane the Merciful character he's referencing, this is really specific reference to Guild Wars 1 events here. The first White Mantle character a Guild Wars 1 player would ever meet was a guy called Ambassador Zane, who came to Ascalon, yes, offering help. The Krytans had killed the Char, and the Ascalonians were struggling, so Zane came and he preached to them, and he's now remembered as Zane the Merciful. This is awesome. It's really, really, really cool to hear. Moving on, we have a message in Harathi Hinterlands at the Arca Lake. He says, my fellow humans, do you remember the tales of the Titans, the false gods of the Char who ravaged Tyria centuries ago? What the Shining Blade refused to tell you is that it was we, the White Mantle, who kept the beast at bay, and it was the agents of the Shining Blade who released them. And that is kind of true, actually. When you read on, he even says, and this is also true, the refugees from Ascalon, still weakened and tired from their trek across the Shiver Peaks, but beginning to enjoy life under the wise and just leadership of the White Mantle, nearly burned due to the Shining Blade's psychotic decision to open the door of Kamali. The history you know is false. Join me and I will protect you from all those who would do you harm. This is really fascinating, seeing how Caudecus is kind of telling the truth, but they're half-truths, right? And, you know, we didn't know as the Shining Blade that opening the door of Kamali was such a psychotic decision, or at least as the protagonist of the first game, you never got to see that. It's an interesting second story maybe they're setting up there, another light cast on the original storyline, but I love this, and what they're doing really, really, really in definitive terms is referencing a really old quest, one of Glint's quests, where, yeah, the Titans, after they were released, did attack the Ascalonian settlement, and we had to repel them. And then lastly, of this first batch, we get another message. This is in Queensdale, actually, at a bandit house that you go visit with Farron during the personal story. And he says this once again. He says, see how the Shining Blade hunts down all who question their false queen. See how they hold you with no trial, with no shred of justice. While I was legate minister, Krytan was a land of laws. It saddens me greatly to watch the tyranny of Queen Jenna from afar. It is clear I have no choice but to liberate Krytan from the royal bloodline who fails Krytan from one generation to the next. And he says, fear not, Krytan, for your day of salvation is imminent. Blood will be shed, and for that I weep. But we shall return Krytan to the honourable and lawful rule of the White Mantle with me as your supreme leader. Soon your suffering will end, and together we will return Krytan, nay, all of Tyria, to the glory days. So it's excellent dialogue. I really like this. It seems like he's even speaking more specifically to the bandits there. And then this isn't it, though. Associated with this achievement, in addition to that, you remember the bandit bosses that they added around some bandit supplies in various areas? Well, now actually you can go to those bandit supplies and interact with them and find letters hidden in amongst the rubble. And those letters give you even more dialogue, more stuff written from the Confessor. And this one maybe isn't so great, but I'll quickly read it. First, you got a letter called The Imposter. And it says, faithful members of the White Mantle, hear the words of our wise and true confessor. This supposed god is false. He is not who he says he is. He is an imposter and he has led you astray. So this is referencing Lazarus and the fact that the White Mantle is actually a split faction. This is a lot more information you'll get from the Out of the Shadows release at the start of this season of The Living World. And of course, this is Caudecus speaking to his own people here. He says, for those who return to my graces, who do not splinter off of Lazarus, but go to him, he says, I will be merciful. For those who do not, my wrath will be unforgiving and my pursuit unending. And the player character, by the way, notes that the author of this letter seems angry. So that's one, and then we get another one. This letter is found at another one of the camps. It's a letter of prosperity. It says, "My brothers and sisters, ask yourself, why would Lazarus forsake our countrymen? Why would he leave them to suffer under the tyranny of an incompetent queen, as weak and cowardly as her bloodline has proven to be for generations? I say again, this is false. He is false, sorry. There is no other explanation. Return to me, and together we will liberate Krytan and usher in a new age of prosperity, not seen since the days of following Saul Delesio's supreme sacrifice." So it's interesting he refers to Saul's sacrifice because, in truth, the White Mantle kind of lied about what happened to Saul. Saul was arrested and taken away by the Mossad for reasons we don't know. It's an outstanding mystery. It's one of the most exciting mysteries in the game, for what it's worth. And they kind of covered it all up. They built a fake tomb and stuff, and yet here's Caudecus speaking to his people as though it's common knowledge. It kind of wasn't. Maybe that's a writing faux pas. But yeah, it's interesting how he's angry at Lazarus because Lazarus doesn't care about Krytan, and this angers Caudecus. He's acting like a very real character, if I dare say so myself. Moving on, we have another one. This is the burden letter. It was a noble effort to bring the unseen ones back, as they aided our supreme hero, Saul Delesio, on the fateful day that he sacrificed himself to save Krytan. But it was the White Mantle, not the unseen ones, who truly won that day. It was the White Mantle, not these Mossad, who ruled for the most prosperous time Krytan has ever seen. So again, there's so much reference here, guys, to the bonus mission pack in Guild Wars 1, where you get to play as Saul and see these events. And if the patch takes ages, maybe even go and play that, see it yourselves. You can continue reading. It says here, "We must be the change we wish to see in Krytan. The unseen ones are gone, they have forsaken us, as the old gods have forsaken the heretics. But fear not, for I will shoulder the burden of leadership." And here, this is great. When he says heretics, guys, he's talking about all the other humans. The humans who believe in the Six, in Cormier and so forth. He's calling them heretics. We haven't heard the White Mantle call them heretics like that for ages. So again, I really enjoyed this. And I love how that he draws that comparison, right? Like, why should we care about Lazarus? That's just as stupid as everyone else caring about the Six. They've all left us. None of them care about humanity. Humanity should be fighting for itself. And that's kind of a reasonable thing for Caudecus to be saying on some level, which is brilliant. Second to last here, the hidden letter of power. He says, "More of our brothers and sisters have returned to our fold, disenfranchised with the supposed noble pursuits of this false god who calls himself Lazarus. He wished to use them as pawns against the dragons, have them throw their lives away, while their families at home suffer at the hands of weak leadership. I promise you wealth, titles, and land for your service in returning the crown of Krytan to where it belongs, on the head of the confessor of the White Mantle. So what will it be? Throw your life away at the feet of the dragon like the foolhardy pact, or return to my good graces and be rewarded with wealth and power?" The player character here notes that the author of this seems desperate. And then last of all, again, and it's clear what ArenaNet were doing here, setting all of this up ready for this patch, the Head of the Snake. Lastly, we have the Letter of Heresy. Many of our brothers and sisters still follow the false Lazarus, willing to throw their lives away for his schemes. This saddens me. My offer of forgiveness can only extend for so long, as our day of reckoning is nearly upon us. Return to me, your one true leader, and you'll guarantee your family's place at the table for the new ruling classes of Krytan. Refuse, and they stand trial in your stead for your heresy. My patience is ended. Return now, or suffer the consequences. And the author of this letter seems vengeful. And those are the last of the letters, guys. I think it's really well written. It's really awesome. It's excellent flavor to roll into the patch. And since ArenaNet have delayed it, why not let's talk about it in these little hours here as we wait for Tyria to no longer be buried under a massive pile of snow, so to speak. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about any of this. Hope you're hyped for the patch even more now. Hope you enjoyed me putting a little bit of a bonus thing out. And I'll see you very soon. I've got a lot of videos waiting to put up. Seriously, a lot.